This is the S. Yolanda Robinson Show, in the know. And viewing audience, do I have a treat for you? I have a trailblazer, an icon, the legendary Curtis Moody. Now, you know what? When you read or hear the story of his life, you think that he must have the hand of God on him, because everywhere he goes, he's opening up doors for many, many people in the community. And I just want to, I'm glad to have him on a show. He's going to be inducted into the Greater Columbus Basketball Legends Association this year. And this program is being sponsored by the Greater Columbus Basketball Legends Association. But Curt Moody, how are you today?
I'm doing fine.
It is so wonderful to have you here. You know, I remember back in the day when we were working on the OSU Black Studies Extension Center, you and Howard Nolan and Charles Wallace.
Yeah.
You know, that probably was maybe one of your first projects. I don't know.
It's a couple of the early ones.
Early ones. And when you got to when you started building the building, you did something that we didn't even have to ask people to do. They hired people in the neighborhood, people that didn't have jobs. And I remember managing the center. And people had so much pride in the building. They used to come up and say, you know, my dad worked on this building. And anytime we did anything, if we didn't have a light bulb, they wanted to OSU. I said, we got light bulbs. They had so much pride. They wanted the lights to be on and the building to be clean. And this was your crew. This is a crew that lived in the neighborhoods, that felt like they were connected to the neighborhood. What made you do that? Because a lot of people say they'll go outside the neighborhood. They know.
Well, you know, one reason I believe is because first of all, I came from the neighborhood. I wasn't, I wasn't in one of the suburban schools. I was in a very urban school, North High School, and all my friends were in city schools. So I just was a part of the neighborhood, and as we started the firm, I always pushed that we should continue to be engaged in the community, and that we, I made a pact that we would do the best job we could every time we got a chance, because I felt that sometimes our communities got second choice, and I didn't want that to happen. And when we were doing work for the community.
And you did, you know. I mean, you did a job that the whole community could be proud of. It wasn't that you just came in and just put something together. You did it. I mean, it seemed like you had a lot of love in the work that you did, you know.
Well, I do, quite frankly, even still today. One thing is that we take a lot of pride in our work in general, but we specifically take pride in working for especially underserved communities. Having come from one myself, I just felt that one of the tasks, one of the challenges I had was to do that. It was to never never short the community in which we were hired to do work, never short that community or any client, quite frankly. And that's kind of our mantra.
And that has worked well for you. I mean, I saw that. Where you're going to be inducted, you actually were the architect for the Schottenstein's Arena. That's awesome. That's awesome. You know.
Well, appreciate it. You recognizing that. The couple things happened with Schottenstein's. I couldn't have dreamed when I was there in school at Ohio State, at the Ohio State University. I couldn't dream that, having been a former athlete for the Ohio State Buckeyes, that one day I would be in the position to be considered for that kind of project. But quite frankly, having been able to be in position to pursue it, the challenge was the competition was very steep, and it was many firms that were had national reputation in designing arenas like that. My belief was that the only thing I could do is take the approach of showing the university that many have designed more than I have in those kind of projects, but none can do any better. And I was going to, and I took a task to show them. As a matter of fact, I designed a concept for the arena for the interview, and fortunately they were happy that they could see what I could do, and it ended up being our firm selected to do the work.
And it's good, just not only for the African American, but for the OSU too. I mean, you came from the School of Architecture from the Ohio State University, and not only did you came, I understand that you do a lot of helping students that are interested in architecture. You help them to get in and everything. You always, getting in the door, helping. Getting in the door, helping, and I have to take my hat off to you and know that you are a true Hall of Famer. The one that Skip Young, our late president, talked about, the kind of Hall of Famers that he wanted to see inducted. And I was reading about your story, okay, Mr. Moody, and you had a mean thing happen to you when you were in junior high school. Mean. And no counselor should do what they did to you, telling you that you couldn't be an architect. But they did.
They did.
Now, how did you cope with that at that age?
Well, I kind of look back at my childhood and say I was fortunate in some ways, because I was a little bit stubborn in that regard. The counselor and I keep thinking back at the time, trying to think, was she a bad person? What was it? I think in her own mind, she was thinking she was doing the best thing for this student. But as an African American student, that was an average student, and I was just a C average student at the time. I think she just said, my advice is you go some other, you do something else. Because being an architect is going to, in her mind, take somebody smarter than you. Somebody that has that's more learned, those kind of things. And she said to me, she said, a lot of the very wealthy hire architects, and they don't hire black architects. And that to me was like, well, they got the first time for everything. That was my attitude. Well, they didn't back then, but they're going to now. That was. And my goal of the firm was, one of the challenges that an African American business of any sort has, because there's not a lot of precedent where you can say, here's 5 successful African American businesses that are just like me. They've done exactly what I'm trying to do. That didn't exist in my profession. So I said, for those coming behind me, if we do what I'm challenging our firm to do, then they will be able to say, yes, there is somebody that has done it. And I felt that there needed to be an example of somebody, especially somebody of color, that could showcase not just good stuff, but very high end stuff, and not just small things, big things. And that was a challenge, because not every door was open to anybody that was African American at the time. It just so happened that I was blessed with the university in that part of my my speech to them was, you graduated me. Don't you believe that I'm qualified enough, having passed through this university? If you're saying I got a good education, this is what I'm talking about, hire me. And so and they did. And since then, I've done many university projects at the Ohio State University and other universities across the country. But that, to me, if you're going to say that you're so good, you're a good university, you put out great students, prove it, hire them. And they did. So I was very happy.
That's awesome. And now we have the arena. I mean, it must be awesome for your family and for everybody to know that many of the buildings, historical buildings that'll probably be here forever, have your signature on it. I understand that you're going to even be doing the Obama Library, President Obama Library. Is that correct?
That is correct, but it's certain. I got to qualify that.
Okay.
The library is under construction right now and it's being done by another firm.
Okay.
We've been hired by the foundation for a special project within the library campus.
Oh.
And it's going to be announced shortly.
You can't say now.
I can't.
Oh,
say.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? All of us in Columbus will say, oh, he's one of us. But when you go around Columbus and, you look at some of the buildings that you've done, and certainly that Martin Luther King Library, that's on Taylor and Long, they have won recognition. You got recognition on that one, national recognition on the design of that building. Is that correct?
It is correct. And of course, Martin Luther King III dedicated it.
Oh, yes.
Came here and dedicated it. It was one of the first libraries around the country that he has done that.
Wow.
There are, I would point out that there's another project that is highly significant because when you think of great people, sometimes the buildings being done by different companies are done to honor those people. And we've been very fortunate that we were hired by Howard University to do the Bosman Center.
Oh my gosh.
And the connection to Wakanda. Because of that, we are now connected to that movie through him, and we are going to do exactly what we promised, in that we're going to do a very special building in honor of him for that campus.
What made you want to be an architect? What not made you, but inspired you?
Well, I didn't think about that for a long time. I just knew I wanted to be. As a matter of fact, before I knew it was called an architect, I didn't even know who did those buildings. But I heard somebody say before, maybe it was a Buckeye guy earlier, but the phrase "if you could see it, you can be it." I was at a friend's house and there were drawings of houses that his father had done, and his father had gone 1 year of architecture. He had gone to school, became a contractor. But there were drawings I had never known somebody can do. I saw that on the table, and when I went over to his friend's house, I didn't want to play with him. I wanted to go through those drawings, and from that point on, it just excited me that I thought I could do it. I thought, because I saw somebody do it. He can do it. I think I can do it too. And so I found out that I could do it. And even today, I say the phrase "if you can see it, you can be it" is so true.
Yes.
Because I used to think that the phrase "if you can see it, you can be it" for African Americans was pretty unique. It's not. The truth of the matter is everybody, whether you're black, white, whatever, when you honor that and recognize that anybody, I don't care what their background is, has the potential to do something that you don't know. You can't look at somebody's face and say you're going to only be this.
Yeah.
It has to come out of them, and I felt that what non-black people needed to see was exactly the same thing. They needed to see others can do things given the opportunity. And therefore, it's important that everybody sees that you just have to give somebody a chance. And I believe that, I made a joke one time about, if the pastor was talking about, problems of the world, and somebody asking the question to God saying, I wish you would have sent us this and this and other, and God said, I sent them so many times. Yeah. You just didn't recognize who they were. Yeah. There's talented people that if you don't recognize them and you push them aside, you may lose something that you were going to gain. And that's something that I think our firm tries to represent.
Yes, and that you have. I didn't get into basketball, and I want to touch a little bit on that before we close. But you know, basketball. You played basketball. How did basketball help you get where you are today?
Basketball helped me tremendously. People don't know this, but a lot of the most successful business people are former athletes of some kind. Wow. Being a former athlete, or being, whether you're playing athlete and still have a business or whatever, there are challenges the coaches show you, and you find out in your team that, for instance, I was a point guard,
and you played for Ohio State.
I played for Ohio State.
Yes.
So I was a point guard for Ohio State. There's games you play, and you're not going to be a leading scorer. You just can't hit. You shoot, and it's not going in. You got to find the win. You have to find the person on your team that is making it that night. So who is the star is going to change based upon the people. Now, you learn to depend on that. You learn that sometimes you have to showcase who is the star for that occasion. And you also got to learn that this time, every player on that team you're playing against is bigger than you. Are you still going to play? Are you going to cancel out the game? You don't. You say, I'm going to play. I just have to find a way to offset their positives. Whatever they are doing well, I have to find a way to offset that and win. Business the same way. Business is about strategy, and it's about, okay, just because it looks like that I'm going up against #1 firm in the country in this regard, I've already done that. Athletics, as an athlete, I say, hey, that's what you do. The only way you can win is you play. Yeah. And so I've just learned that if it's not looking very good in one way, I got to find another way. I have to find another way to compete. And being an athlete taught me that. And so, it's part of my DNA today.
Well, speaking of DNA, your children are in the business and they're doing well. I mean, you have to be a proud father, grandfather. I mean, your son is actually taking over your business.
Correct.
I mean, how did he play basketball, or he learned a lot from you?
He played football.
He played football. Oh, okay.
And wrestled.
Oh.
And we are the only architectural company in the country that have 2 former Division I athletes. Wow. I was Division I at Ohio State in the basketball. He was Division I. He went to Cornell University. On the football, he was the center. And that just doesn't happen. So for a father and son to be in the same profession, that's very nice too. But having a background like we both have, he experienced the things I experienced in playing sports and leveraging that. And so he doesn't have to fear either. He's going to play. He's going to play the game as hard as he can against whoever the competition is. And he's not going to be one of those people that are afraid to compete. And so that's a good thing.
That is. Now, you know what? I know you won. I've seen your resume, and you have lots of awards, and probably getting them every week. But how does it feel to be inducted into the Greater Columbus Basketball Legends?
Oh, it's an honor. I these kind of things I never imagined. I never. I mean, when I played basketball in high school, I look back and I played against some of the previous Hall of Fame inductees and some current ones. And I looked at them as, they are very noteworthy. They're going to be in there. But I didn't picture myself in that regard. I kind of just said, I'm happy to have played and then taken the positions I've taken. But I just never imagined that I would be honored in this way. And I'm just proud that I have been. I appreciate it. But I really look to the other people who are very deserving and honored to be part of that group.
And you are a Hall of Famer. I mean, I understand. I got to get one more thing in because I understand that you give away houses to people as part of your firm.
Yes.
What inspired you to do that?
One of the things we have a problem with in this country, not just affordable housing, but equity. One thing I found out, especially in our community, that the difference in equity between our community and the broader community is substantial. It's huge.
Oh, yes, it is.
We don't typically have anything that we can pass on in value. So we felt that with all the charitable giving that we get requested, dinners and golf outings and all that I wanted to use our firm to do something tangible. I said, those dinners are fine, but what at the end of the year, what can we say? Who did it help? And we couldn't come up with any names. They said, they donated part of it to needy groups. I said, why don't we do something to affect a family and give them equity? So we came up with the idea of, what do? We design buildings. So let's design a house. Let's pay for the house. And let's gift it to somebody who never expected it. They would automatically have equity. All of a sudden, they have something of value because it's mortgage free.
Yeah.
So even if they move, they say, this house is fine, but I want to go somewhere else. They got money to do it. And so we came up with that, and we're doing that. I have 12 offices, very fortunate to have 12 offices, and we're doing that for every office in the country we have. And right now, we have Nashville under construction. It's going to be finished next month. And then following that is Chicago. Following that is Atlanta. And we're going to keep going.
You have any in Columbus?
Yeah, Columbus is already done.
It's already done?
Yeah, Columbus, we dedicated Columbus, and the family was a single mother with 3 children.
Oh, wow.
And she was given, in fact, what she thought, she thought she was getting a rent-free house, and then several months later she called it back up and said, when is my rent? We said, you don't have no rent.
What a blessing.
And we said, didn't you read the deed?
No, I just saw
Awesome.
No, never have.
Awesome.
Never realized.
Wow,
That's a blessing.
What a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing. Good for you. I mean,
Thank you.
God bless you for the work that you're doing and giving back, you and your family. It's oh my gosh, that is so wonderful. Oh my goodness, I can't even get over somebody just walking in and just giving you a house with equity. How genius! And that helps a family so much. So what are you going to do from here? What do you do from after the Hall of Fame and all this? What do you do?
Well, the fortunate is, as you mentioned, I have 3 sons, and 2 of them are one's is engineer, and he's in the he's had Moody Engineering, and the other is another one is Jonathan, who's the CEO of Moody Nolan Architects these days, and then Curtis Jr., who's in the Army.
Wow.
He's actually in the Air Force, and continues to be. He also works for Ohio State part-time, so he works for Ohio State, and then he's in the reserve, and he coaches at Eastmore. So he's
got a little bit of all of your blood and all of them.
And got 4 grandchildren,
business,
5 now. And what I plan, and I'm hoping to continue, is I'm able to, at this stage of our business development, is design more. So Jonathan can do more administrative things, and I can design more buildings. Where in the past, before he came along, I couldn't design as many buildings because the administrative responsibilities of the corporation took me to all those different offices, traveled a lot. But now I'm able to move and select projects that I want to be involved in and design personally. So I'm going to continue to do that, and Lord allows me to have good health. I'm going to just keep doing it.
One more question, but what advice would you give to a person that wanted to do wanted to be a basketball star? What advice would you give them if you had to do it over again? What would you tell them that to do?
I would tell them to persevere. I don't care. People, no one outside of yourself can assess what you're capable of, and you are the one that has to determine that path. So, and it's all about effort. It's about putting forth the effort to achieve. Once you find out what you want to achieve, you decide, okay, what are the steps I have to take to get there, and nothing happens overnight. So you have to take the steps, and if you're willing to put forth the effort, then you can achieve it. And so I've always recommended that people not let others discourage them from their dream. I'm sure everybody's trying to help. Here's advice, so and so, like my teacher. But because they can't see into you, you've got to take it upon yourself to take the steps and prove for yourself whether you can achieve that dream you have. So I keep saying, don't let anything deter you. Keep it in front of you. We're very fortunate as a firm at our size today, but there can be people come along that can out-achieve what we've done. So, we're an example, and we hope to stay one, but I'm still saying to anybody, just work. Just do the work that you know to do, and you'll make it work.
Plant the seeds to reap the harvest. All
Yep.
right, that is awesome. Well, I'd like to thank you for being on this week's program. Ask Yolanda in the know, and you out there, you got to be in the house at the Schottenstein's Arena on April the 22nd with Curt, Moody, Teresa Featherstone, the Burke family, the Salingers, the Buckeye Guy, and all the rest of the Hall of Famers and former Hall of Famers. Now, you have to get your ticket and make sure you get that special link. A ticket start at $18. That admits you to everything. And then if you want to sit at the club level, $73 with some of the basketball legends, and you'll be able to do that. Now, all the tickets, you can go to all the things, the ceremony, the All-Star game, and the Isley Brothers. So I will see you next week, and I will see you on April the 22nd in the Schottenstein's Arena. This show is sponsored by the Greater Columbus Basketball Legends Association. Love you, and you can't do anything about it.